Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I am back to my nofap journey. This is today is Thursday, and it is 5 days into my current nofap streak. I have been reading about body chemistry and what makes guys smell attractive. And as you guys know, there are certain foods. And I also learned that nofap has a benefit. It makes our bodies radiate of certain hormones. And I thought I would give it a try. I thought I would give it a try. And it's a Chinese New Year, so that could be like another New Year's resolution. My longest streak was 70 some days, although it can be disputed whether or not I relapse. I'll get to that in a second in between there. Um, I usually start these journeys because of out of respect of something going on. Let me share a couple of them. War had just broken out in Ukraine, and I used that as an opportunity to clean up my lifestyle, including sleep hygiene. You got to remember we were just returning to the office. A lot of times I was still sleeping in weird ways because during the pandemic I didn't have to commute, right? And I also used it as an opportunity to start a nofap journey. They kind of come into conjunction, right? Sometimes fapping really does mess with your sleeping schedule because you always crash after fapping. So the first couple of weeks were hell. It was my first time trying it. Evelina Falinta was at the border between Poland and Ukraine. I'm helping out the situation, and she uploaded a bunch of beautiful photos to her Instagram. And believe it or not, I talked to her a lot. And I couldn't talk to her that week because it was giving me a lot of temptation to masturbate. I know it sounds weird, but I've kind of come to regret it now. I gave her a song inspiration. I think she took some of that, and but at the time I was ghosting her a lot because every time I would talk to her I would get a lot of temptation. I think I went about 2 weeks that time. I really didn't know that it had interesting effects on body odor chemistry, though. If I did, I might have done more to interact with other people. At the time, I had my head in my work. You guys remember, right? I was teaching at Washington Tech, and my students meant a lot to me. Come to think of it, a lot of my students sometimes inappropriately hit on me. I'm sure it did happen at that time too, so uh, that might have had an effect. June 4 is Polish idol Alicia Janazi, her birthday. And when her birthday came around, I realized that it had already been a few days since I had stopped masturbating that time. And I decided, out of respect to her, I would continue. And I went, this was 2022, I went 2 weeks that time. And I remember why I relapsed. An old female friend of mine, we never dated, but an old female friend of mine had some tragedies in her life. A family member had passed away. She had some health problems, among a host of other things, and asked for some prayers. It was on her Facebook page. And as I was thinking about her, I don't know why I got the urge to masturbate. I've never really liked her in a sexual way. I think it had just been too long since I masturbated, and I was really busy at the time. You got to remember what else was going on in 2022. I was still grappling with eating disorder problems and still having to keep my guard up there. And so for whatever reason, I relapsed. And another important anniversary that year, July 18th of 1898, Mary Curie discovered polonium 210, and I have a lot of respect for her too. And so I started another nofap journey. Technically started a few days before that, but the anniversary gave me more motivation to keep it going. And that time I lasted 70 days, although there was a couple incidents along the way that make, I'll let you guys decide if they count or not. What had happened was about 40 days into the nofap, I had I was playing board games at a meetup group in Redmond, Washington, and there was this girl that I had known for a few weeks. And one day I finally got a chance to hug her, and in the process of doing that, I had an accident of some sort. And I think she noticed it, and she pretended to not notice it, if I remember correctly. And I had a couple wet dreams during that time. One night I dreamt about Evelina Falenta, if you could believe it. And so in the dream, I had gone to visit her in Poland, and so I had gotten her pregnant with 10 babies at one time. And I learned that it was because it had been that long. In the dream, it had been years and years since I had quit masturbating. And so I learned that that's what causes one to have 10 babies. But in the dream, I wasn't terribly concerned. I was more concerned about her than the prospect of having to raise 10 children. And I woke up. And I got scared to death because a lot of my dreams usually end up coming to pass someday, right? I dream about uh, being successful with my bismuth art career, and I am, right? I dream about finding a silver coin when I go coin roll hunting, and then I find it, right? I dream about various. I've had dreams about after breaking up with a girl, I had a dream about being back with her, and then not long after that, I was back with her. Right, this was back when I was living in Rochester, New York. So I got really concerned after I woke up, but it was only after I woke up that I get concerned. And then a few months later, I was talking to Evelina Falenta. I was high on caffeine, and I dropped the L bomb, and she was very receptive to it. It had really heightened my concern, right? And so part of the reason I don't even want to travel back to Poland is because of that dream. Well, I don't know. Maybe if it can happen in my dream, maybe it's not the end of the world, right? Whatever the situation is. And so I haven't been doing nofap in the last 2 years, in large part because of my bismuth art career and all the other stuff that's been going on in my life. But I'd like to try it again after 2 years. I think the hardest part is that every time I try nofap, I tend to develop other bad habits in its wake, right? So I sometimes call eating disorders and the fapping disorders as kind of my twin addictions, right? I tend to seesaw between the two of them. During the time that I was doing a lot of intermittent fasting a few years ago at the beginning of COVID, I was fapping a lot. Don't forget, it was also COVID when you couldn't see anybody, so you were just fapping at home, right? And then 2 years ago, when I did no fap, my eating disorders went way out of control, right? Last year, I had a time when I stopped using caffeine. I wanted to have steady hands to do a tantalum piece. My eating and masturbating went out of control. So it's just a huge balancing act, right? Uh, for some reason, eating and masturbating have something in common. They give me a similar kind of pleasure feeling that I cannot describe, that other things don't, right? As much as I love my bismuth art career, right, as much as I love my job, as much as I love other things, right, sports, or uh, the other day, well, in conjunction with this, I was binge watching a long series of I put together a series of videos. Actually, they were kind of loose videos. I was binge watching some advice on going on first dates, and I put together a 6 hour binge pack now in a playlist. I'll share that at some point. uh, and so that didn't give me, it was fun to watch, but that didn't give me the kind of excitement that eating and masturbating do for some reason, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.